We are finally going to talk about what is happening with Jim Harbaugh and the NCAA. It has been a long time coming. I know we're a few days past all of the big news that happened when we were doing our international trip, but it's time to talk about that. And 6 Michigan players made ESPN's top 100. Let's talk about all of that on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Happy Wednesday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I am your man on the ground, Isaiah Holt, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. So in case you missed it, and if you are watching, listening, any of this, there's no chance in heck that you did miss it, but everything is kind of falling apart in terms of the supposed 4-game suspension for Jim Harbaugh by the NCAA. The NCAA went and said, you know what? This isn't confirmed. Like, basically, we floated this deal and it's a bad deal. We're taking it back and we're going to push this to the Committee of Infractions. And maybe in 2024, we can get you. I don't know why we did the one way or another with that, but you know, I think that's a sign that I am in a loopy state. Usually that is. Anyhow, so no suspensions for Michigan and Jim Harbaugh this year. So, so there's more to the story, but I do want to comment on this part first. I do think I almost wanted it to happen, right? Just get it done, get it over with, because it makes for an interesting season. Now, granted, I don't know if we would have gotten Jim Harbaugh on Mondays as a result. We certainly wouldn't have had him post game. That means less traffic for me, potentially. I don't know. So I mean that nobody wants that, at least not here in this household. Me and Zuri, we don't want that. But I think that could have been a galvanizing factor for the team, and maybe it already is, right? Maybe like just the fact that it happened is going to still be a galvanizing factor, but I would have wanted it to continue to be. But that also could have been a distraction. So that's also good that it is not. So that is my immediate reaction to that. Secondly, let's get into the other parts. Actually, I don't know why I thought I had another point. I don't. So other things have happened that are interesting and of note when it comes to this. I didn't even see it until Sunday. I'd already been home for a little while, but I was just dead tired from traversing internationally. And if you're watching, yep, got my typical can't get the balance of my mic right, which is kind of bizarre because I was just at a podcast, Big Ten Country with NBC, and had no problems. For some reason, got problems this time. So the other part is the NCAA's vice president put out a release, a statement, commented on this, and says it's not about a cheeseburger. Let me pull up what he had to say, and then we're going to get to more about that before. Let's see if I have it readily available. I was just going to say what I was going to say about it, but I want to make sure that we're actually fully discussing it here. So I wrote an article on this, NCAA's ridiculousness. So here's the statement from Vice President of Hearing Operations, Derek Crawford. The Michigan infractions case relates to impermissible on and off-campus recruiting during the COVID-19 dead period and impermissible coaching activities, not a cheeseburger. That's technically accurate. It is not uncommon for the COI, Committee of Infractions, to seek clarification on key facts prior to accepting. The COI might also reject an NR if it determines that the agreement is not in the best interest of the association or the penalties are not reasonable. If the involved parties cannot resolve a case through the negotiation resolution process, it may proceed to a hearing. But the committee believes cooperation is the best avenue to quickly resolve issues. So, what's wrong with putting something like that out? Okay, first off, it's not about a cheeseburger. No, it's not directly about a cheeseburger. And by the way, and Michigan's not necessarily out there arguing, hey, it's about a cheeseburger. That's a fan. I mean, some of us in the media, of course, are saying like cheeseburgers, but that's addressing like the fans, right? You're talking to the fans. Clearly, you're talking to the fans. You're not talking to Michigan. But it isn't about the cheeseburger. It's about Harbaugh allegedly obfuscating, right? About him misleading NCAA investigators, because that's what the crux of it was, because that was it. They found a receipt. Look at the receipt. Bought a cheeseburger. Straight to jail with him. Oh no, let's bring him back to jail, from jail. Let's not put him in jail. Did you buy this cheeseburger? I don't remember. Straight to jail with him. Tom Mars, who Jim Harbaugh has retained as attorney. I think we all know who Tom Mars is by now. He's the preeminent lawyer who gets involved in cases against the NCAA. He's not someone the NCAA wants with this. He wins all the time. Pursuant to the NCAA's internal operating procedures and under threat of penalties, Michigan, the involved coaches and their lawyers are prohibited from uttering a word about this ongoing case. Yet the NCAA can issue a public statement putting its spin on this case. Unreal. It's also against the NCAA bylaws that they did do this. They are trying to win the court of public opinion right now. And congratulations. You have done that in 1.5 cities. You have done it in probably the entirety of East Lansing. You've probably got 100% approval ranking in East Lansing at the moment. And I would say probably half of Columbus is with you. But a lot of people in Columbus look at it and say, we remember this story. We know how this goes. This is just as ridiculous. If you look at any of the comments on any of the tweets about this when these were broken, Dan Wetzel being the latest, and then you look at like Ross Dellinger from the first time, you will see a litany of Buckeyes actually chiming in, being like, listen, I'm a Buckeye. This is stupid. This is dumb. You get a couple of that say, no, but don't go get tattoos though, right? Whatever. I've said it on this show before. I stand in solidarity with those in Columbus who feel that Tatgate was ridiculous. Now, at the time, I was relatively fresh out of the University of Michigan. I did not feel that way at the time. I had changed my stance on Tatgate well before this. Talking to my best friend Doug about it over the years, like, how ridiculous is it that that's what happened? Especially because fully legal now to do what those guys did. Fully legal. All they had to do maybe is like, hey, we got our tattoos at this tattoo shop. Okay, NIL, there you go. Absolutely ridiculous. A lot more to this. Maybe it's been said by me on this show before. Maybe it's been said recently. Maybe it's been said all the way back in January when we were trying to cover all this from Disneyland. But there are a lot of other thoughts I have about this. Let's get into all of that before we get to the ESPN, the 6 players that made the top 100 list and some very curious omissions from that group. Before we do that, if you want to get into the comfort kingdom, then guess what? I've got just the thing for you. Birddogs is revolutionizing comfort when it comes to your pants as well as your shorts. Whether you're looking for something dressy for the gym, you're going out to the lake for the rest of this duration this summer, or enjoying anything in between, Birddogs has got you covered. That's the important thing. You're also going to look and you're going to feel better wearing Birddogs. They allow you the versatility of going from the beach to the golf course, right to dinner, to your next meeting. Where I saw Anthony Broome wearing a Birddogs polo at the press conference today. It's press conference ready. Birddog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but they do so fitting way better. The way they fit better than regular shorts that are made of a stiff, restricting cotton. They fit way better, rather. Birddogs also fixed this issue by inventing a cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. I mean, it's good stuff right there. You can wear it. Wore mine on the walk the other day with the dog, with the Zuri. I shouldn't have said that without a British accent because I'm surprised she hasn't run in here. Birddogs uses an anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. So go to birddogs.com/lockedoncollege. Enter promo code LockedOnCollege for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/lockedoncollege or promo code LockedOnCollege for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You won't want to take your bird dogs off. We can promise you that. Speaking of being in the comfort kingdom, I feel like that's where I'm at. If you're watching this show, I'm just chilling here. Speaking of things that are angering while just being completely just chilled out about it, that kind of day. Yeah, we're doing an evening show today. The plan and hope was to do it in the morning, but had some chores to do before the press conference and all of that. So we're still here and doing it, just not at the time that I would have liked. Oh well. Anyhow, let's continue with my thoughts on all of this NCAA ridiculousness here. So the key thing here, there are a couple key things. I mean, this would be a mistrial. I'm not a lawyer. I could be completely wrong. I think this would be a mistrial already, right? The prosecution's out there like putting out stuff, you know, and that is actually like illegal to leak and all of that kind of stuff, and trying to influence I'm trying to even influence the jury. The jury is itself, which makes it even more ridiculous. But they're doing all these things and, speaking about it when Michigan can't. It's got a lot like recruiting, like the rules on recruiting, right? Recruits can come out there and say things like, Michigan mistreated me, and Michigan can't do anything but sit on its hands and be like, all right, dude, you're just lying about it. Or, I mean, maybe it's in some cases it's true. It becomes a very one-sided thing. I mean, I think at the same time, though, no one's really buying it, except for 60 miles west of where I sit at the moment. I think maybe they're buying it, but other than that, so it's already kind of become a kangaroo court because of that. You add in that if his exact words are, I don't recall, it's not something you can necessarily prove unless you have something on video that's him 6 months down the road or whatever, being like, hey, remember when I bought that cheeseburger for that recruit? There's really no way to prove he doesn't remember. I've said it time and time again. That dude has played in a lot of college football and NFL games. He has been hit in the head a lot. I'm not saying that to impugn Jim Harbaugh. I'm saying that as a defense because I can't remember what happened yesterday most of the time. So it is very, very, it's a weird hill to die on. Next, as we've talked about ad nauseum, schools like Tennessee are out there with umpteen more violations and they're cool with it. From what it seems, the NCAA wanted a stricter penalty, but they're the ones who floated that 4-game as it was. It wasn't Michigan. Michigan isn't about that right now, right? So that they floated this 4-game. We're in negotiations 4-game. It doesn't behoove Michigan to float that, and it also would get them in major trouble if they would have. But supposedly the NBA would prefer like 6 games or a whole season, which is just unbelievably ridiculous and myopic. So my view on this is, hey, NCAA, get your house in order. Just get your general house in order. Like, stop trying to punish misdemeanors as felonies when there's people out there committing high crimes and treason. You've got conferences going nuts out there, all for TV money, right? Like, you've got the Pac-12 is the Pac-4 right now, and it probably won't exist in 2024. You got Florida State trying to leave. You've got everything else running rampant. Meanwhile, you're trying to punish Jim Harbaugh, and you're going to Congress being like, please fix NIL for us. Please fix the transfer portal for us. I mean, get your house in order. You know, let he without sin cast the first stone. Well, NCAA, you're ridiculous. And you live in a glass house. And yet you're throwing boulders through your own windows. It makes no sense whatsoever what you're trying to do here. Now, again, if Jim Harbaugh did knowingly do something wrong, yeah, I'm not for that. I don't think that that's a good thing. If he misled investigators, no, I'm not for that. But I also think that saying, I don't recall if maybe he did recall to the NCAA, which has proven an unjust organization as it is, right now just looking for its pound of flesh, then at worst, I think he should get a game. Give him a game. Be like, he'll certainly learn that lesson. He is a rule follower. That is another reason why I sit there and say I don't think that he knowingly misled investigators, because Jim Harbaugh, as we have learned throughout the 8+ years that he's been here, is a stickler for the rules. A stickler. He does not like skirting rules whatsoever. And I understand there's other things, like he said, like the investigator said, not a cheeseburger. There's other things. You know, they watched Thomas Fedone and his cousin do push-ups on a Zoom call during COVID. The horror. It's one of the worst things you can do in this world. Certainly other schools were doing exactly that. I just pulled up Twitter because I wanted to look at Anthony Broome, who I mentioned earlier, wearing Birddogs. Made an interesting connection here. We'll close with this before we move on. He said, if you're wondering why the NCAA's Committee on Infractions is taking such a firm stance on Jim Harbaugh's potential punishment, well, now it makes more sense from SI in February. And it notes that the rule, and this is from the NCAA rules governance. I think this is a critical time in this industry, which is one reason I put my hand up to serve, says Jim Stapleton. As he points out, if that name sounds familiar, it's because it is from the Harbaugh Viking situation in 2022. He screenshot John U. Bacon, who says, my sources have confirmed what I already suspected from circumstantial evidence. Michigan alumnus and former EMU trustee Jim Stapleton, who's been a Vikings minority owner since 2005, is reported in 3 and Out after Stapleton had been accused of sabotaging Michigan coach Rich Rodriguez. He wrote a 4-page letter refuting the charges, but still had his sideline pass revoked. He is now one of Harbaugh's critics, hoping to persuade the Wilfs to reject him. The NCAA is just looking for its pound of flesh. Jim Stapleton, potentially, maybe, I don't want to say for sure, is maybe out there saying, like, I'm going to take down Jim Harbaugh for what he did to me. Continue to do it. Some people just have spite in their hearts. Some people just have hate. Some people just have anger. Now, again, not saying that he does, but if those dots do indeed connect, it makes a lot more sense as to why this crusade is happening in the first place. And it seems ridiculous, kind of given the state of college football becoming more and more unrecognizable by the minute. It's hard to beat the cheaters. Cheaters still run rampant. And Harbaugh, unfortunately, couldn't remember if he bought a hamburger, potentially during a dead period, when he showed up on campus. And thus Michigan must pay. Absolutely absurd. We're going to continue on, have more to talk about with this ESPN 100 list. Michigan tied the other top schools in the country with 6 players. Most players in the top 20. We will discuss those rankings here in just a moment. Before we do, football season is about to kick off, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long. Because right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets back every single time they win in the regular season. Get those Lions picks in right now. Or don't. History would tell you not to. But you pick any team to win the Super Bowl, you'll get bonus bets for every victory. You can use your bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sports book. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. All right, so Michigan had 6 players in the top 100 of the ESPN rankings of the best 100 players in college football. I don't think it will surprise you at all if I told you that the top player for Michigan is Blake Corum, who comes in ranked number 7 in the country. He's the top-ranked running back. What I think does surprise me a little bit is that the second-ranked running back is Donovan Edwards. He's ahead of Quinshon Judkins. He's ahead of Nick Singleton. I've seen a lot of lists where he's not ahead of those guys. But here, Donovan Edwards comes in just 10 spots behind Blake Corum at number 17. But in the top 20, that's not all. Zach Zinter also made the cut at number 19. He's the top guard in the country and the third best offensive lineman, according to ESPN. He's behind Joe Alt, who's the top lineman, surprisingly, I think, in my eyes, and Olu Fashunu. They're 11 and 16, respectively. But Zach Zinter makes that cut, top guard in the country. Up next is J.J. McCarthy at number 39 overall, according to ESPN. What you would sit there and say, okay, that sounds pretty good. That's really good. And I understand J.J. McCarthy hasn't necessarily shown his full potential yet, but he's behind 11 other quarterbacks on this list. Whereas all those other returning quarterbacks rankings have him 6th, 7th, or 8th. ESPN has him number 39 in the country. That's a pretty good ranking for him, I think. But has him behind, in order, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Michael Penix, Jordan Travis, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Cam Rising, Sam Hartman, KJ Jefferson, Frank Harris, and Will Rogers. Frank Harris, I think, is UTSA. Will Rogers is, I think, Mississippi State. KJ Jefferson is Arkansas. I think I've got that right. I mean, I would put him, to me, I would maybe move Bo Nix down, but below Jaden Daniels, and I'd put JJ at this moment ahead of Bo Nix. I know Bo Nix was really good for Oregon last year, but I still think JJ is better than Bo Nix. I think Cam Rising should be higher though too. Sam Hartman, I don't think Sam Hartman's better than JJ McCarthy. I'm sorry, I don't. And for the rest, I don't. Ultimately, I think JJ will probably finish the season more around 4th, but that is also if Michigan opens things up, because he might not show enough, but that's going to be on JJ to make big throws and be accurate. Do the most with the opportunities he is given. Up next at 55 is Will Johnson. He was behind only Kalen King and Cooper DeJean, however you say his name. I think that's fair. Will Johnson really only had a half a year of play, so it's kind of impressive that he's considered the 55th best player in the country and 3rd best cornerback. It's actually really impressive. He could finish number 1. Right behind him at number 56 is Junior Colson, which I think is impressive. I mean, he's a big muscle, as we've talked about. He is going to be one of the leaders on this defense. And he's kind of the engine of that linebacker group. But he also might not be the best linebacker that they have. It might be Ernest Hausman. Linebacker overnight feels pretty good. We're gonna do a revamped position ranking here before too long. Now that we're getting some fall camp intel. Linebacker used to be our dead last, and now it feels like that's going to be a hard ranking. It's going to be a really difficult ranking to come up with. I try to help Chris Ballas with his top 5 position groups, and we were not in agreement. It's top's difficult because there's just so many, like, I think that they were like running back and I was like offensive line. I think that's how that went. Really difficult right now to figure out. So that's the 6. Notable omission. Chris Jenkins. Number 6 on the freaks list. Right? Chris Jenkins absolutely should be on this list. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. How is he not in the top 100? He has had decent production last year. He absolutely should be on the list. As far as defensive tackle, I mean, we're not going to go through all of it, but I could pull it up real fast potentially. I forgot to link ESPN, so I guess I can't. But he is a glaring omission. I think that you could pick him and one other defensive tackle to probably be on this list by the end of the season, and an edge. I couldn't tell you who. Trevor Keegan should probably also be on the list. Again, I think he's just not getting the credit he deserves. Drake Nugent is probably the top center in the country. And I think that by the end of the year, Colston Loveland and or AJ Barner will be on the list. Michigan continues to talk about Colston Loveland as the equal of Brock Bowers. So it will be interesting to see. All right. Way too chill to end the podcast. I feel like normally we're all full of bluster, and right now it's very sleepy over here. But that's going to do it for us today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We are bringing the mailbag back for tomorrow. Get your questions in. So pending breaking news where we have to talk about it. Granted, also said we have to do 2 episodes one of these days. Guess it doesn't have to be this week, but I'd prefer it to be. We'll see. We'll get to the mailbag tomorrow as long as there's enough questions. If you got your questions in for the last one that I didn't do, just re-ask it again. Don't rely on me having asked it before because I'm not copying from that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll be back soon. Peace.